Richard T. Robertson School of Media and Culture at Virginia Commonwealth University named Best Student Newscast in the Mid-Atlantic. This is VCU InSight.
Good evening and welcome to a special post-election edition of VCU InSight. I'm Jasmine Stiff.
And I'm Alexis Hughes. Thanks for joining us. Decision Virginia 2017 is in the books, and state and local Republicans are reeling from what political pundits are calling a Democratic wave, with the latest CNN poll showing President Trump's approval rating hovering at a new low of 37%. Democratic candidates swept all the statewide positions. Governor-elect Ralph Northam topped Republican Ed Gillespie by 9 points, the widest such margin for a Democratic gubernatorial candidate in more than 3 decades. Justin Fairfax defeated Republican State Senator Jill Vogel to become the second African-American lieutenant governor in Virginia history. And Attorney General Mark Herring will return for a second term after beating Republican John Adams.
But their historic gains don't end there. VCU InSight's Jordan Howard joined us here at the desk. And Jordan, how different will the Virginia House of Delegates look come January?
Well, Jasmine, the changes will be pretty significant. As of right now, Democrats have gained 15 seats in the House. Among the more notable victories, Democrat Danica Roem became the first openly transgender candidate elected as a Virginia delegate, defeating 26-year House veteran Bob Marshall in the 13th District. Elizabeth Guzman and Hala Ayala, both Democrats, became the first Latinas elected to serve in the House. And Democratic Socialist Lee Carter, a Marine veteran, unseated one of the most powerful Republican leaders in the House, Delegate Jackson Miller, who served as the majority whip. Now, these are races that have already been determined. However, there are a few that remain too close to call, more than a week after the election. To take us inside those races, we turn now to Carly Ford and Jordan Bruss.
Thanks, Jordan. That's right. There are still 3 delegate races across the Commonwealth that could potentially qualify for a recount once the results are officially certified.
And because Republicans only have a 1-seat advantage in the House, these 3 races could determine the balance of power for the next 2 years. In District 28, Republican Bob Thomas leads Democrat Joshua Cole by a mere 84 votes out of more than 23,000 cast.
District 40 sees Republican Tim Hugo with a lead of 106 votes over Democrat Dante Tanner. That's out of more than 30,000 votes.
And in the 94th District, Republican David Yancey leads Democrat Shelley Simmons by only 10 votes out of more than 23,000 cast.
We'll keep an eye on the numbers in these very close races in the coming weeks. But for now, let's send it back to the desk.
Thanks, Carly. Now, as we mentioned before, once Virginia Department of Elections officially certifies everything, these races probably face a recount. And to take us inside of the recount process, we turn to VCU InSight's Amber Wishy. Amber?
Thanks, Jasmine. So according to the Department of Elections, there are no automatic recounts in Virginia. Recounts can be requested by the losing candidate if they are within 1% of the winning candidate. If a losing candidate wants a recount, they can request it after the election has been certified, but they only have 10 calendar days after certification to do that. Counties and cities will pay for recounts if the margin between the 2 candidates is 0.5% or less, or if the candidate requesting the recount is declared the winner by the recount court. Now, it usually takes about 2 weeks to certify results, and a recount could add several days on top of that. The bottom line, Jasmine, we may not know who controls the House of Delegates until December. I'm Amber Wishy, VCU InSight.
Thanks, Amber. Democrat wins Phase 1 of the redistricting wars. That's how the magazine The Atlantic analyzed Democratic victories across Virginia after Election Day.
With the state census happening in 2020 and redistricting a year after that, Governor-elect Ralph Northam may have an opportunity to reshape voting districts in the Commonwealth. To give us more on what this could mean for the future for both parties here in Virginia, we turn to InSight's own Bradford Ambrose, who's in the studio with VCU Associate Professor Dr. Bill Oglesby.
Thanks, guys. And thank you, Dr. Oglesby, for being with us today.
Sure, my pleasure.
How will the change in the House of Delegates change the redistricting process in 2021?
Well, actually, it's a real game changer, Bradford. The thing is that we assumed for a long time that there was still going to be great Republican domination by the end of the decade when they actually do have to do the redistricting. And now it appears that it's going to be roughly equal between Democrat and Republican. So that will have a great effect on what kind of a plan they're able to get through the House and present to the governor. It looks now like that may be, we still have another election, another House election in 2 years in 2019. So there could be some even further changes.
Okay, so we've heard a lot about how gerrymandering makes the districts less competitive, but doesn't the recent election kind of disprove that? Actually
not. When you think about it, as big a tsunami election as this was, it was 15 seats out of 100 that changed hands, that flipped in this year. That should be what we normally do. That's 15%. That's what should normally happen. There were still over 30 seats that weren't even contested this year. Ideally, that would not happen, at least not nearly as much, if you had a truly competitive system where the politicians weren't drawing the lines to get themselves reelected.
Okay. You produced a gerrymandering documentary. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we did that last year, and as a matter of fact, there's another thing that could affect our gerrymandering situation, our redistricting, quite a bit, is a case that's currently before the Supreme Court that they just heard, and my documentary was one of the items in the record for that. But that will attack partisan gerrymandering. So depending how that case is decided, that could have a big effect on what Virginia does as well.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Oglesby, for being with us today.
Thank you.
Back to the desk.
Here in Virginia, delegates across a wide range of the gender, race, and LGBTQ spectrum were elected, many of them breaking barriers. To talk about the political perfect storm which made this possible, we turn to Gabriella Lacombe, who is in the studio with Dr. Deidre Condit. Gabriella?
Thanks, Alexis. Virginia's first Latina delegates, the first female Asian American delegate, the first ever openly transgender state lawmaker. What do these elections mean for the state and for the country? Here with me to discuss this is Dr. Deidre Condit, Associate Professor of Political Science here at VCU. Thanks for joining us.
I'm delighted to be here, Gabrielle. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So in this election, so many women turned out to vote, so many women won office. Why do you think that is? Is it because of President Trump?
Well, first remember that we had a difference in how women came out to vote. So African American women voted heavily in one way, white women voted heavily in another way, but overall in the state of Virginia, we had a significantly higher turnout among Democratic voters than at any other point in the state's history for a gubernatorial election. That's really important. This is, in fact, a response, I think, to the Trump administration. It is a backlash response from women who have felt disempowered from the beginning of the Trump administration and even into the campaign. And I think you see it in the development of grassroots organizations like LWCC, for example, Liberal Women of Chesterfield County, a new grassroots organization that formed to really do get out the vote work. And in fact, they succeeded because Democrats won Northam run in Chesterfield County, right? So I do think this is a watershed moment in Virginia's history. It is also a moment in America's history as we look forward to the 2018 elections. It's a signal to the national GOP.
A signal of what?
That what's been happening in Washington and with the Trump administration isn't working. That at least for states like Virginia that had been purple trending blue over the last couple of elections, Virginia went to Hillary Clinton in the last presidential election by about 5 points. What it says is that there is a clear response among Democratic voters and probably some moderate Republicans and independents to repudiate what the Trump administration has been doing across issues of LGBT politics, gender politics, minority politics, and immigration.
Great, thank you. And also, so many LGBT candidates won this election, and specifically 6 openly transsexual candidates won nationwide, which was has never been done before. Do you think the LGBTQ community is going to be more involved politically?
Well, first, they're transgender. Most of them were transgender candidates, identify as transgender rather than transsexual. But also, it's really important to realize that the LGBT community has always had a higher percentage of political activism than the rest of the population. What this signals is the success of long-term grassroots political development on the one hand, and in Virginia in particular, in the case case of Danica Rame, it is a clear polar vote where Bob Marshall, who had a pretty pointed anti-LGBTQ political agenda, pointed and pretty dark, ran against a transgender candidate who was open and clear, and the population turned out and supported Danica Rame. And I think she is making an important statement about where Virginia has trended, at least, on this issue.
Right, thank you. And then with so many diverse voices, what does this mean for the political landscape of Virginia?
Well, I think it's a really interesting moment for Virginia. Virginia has been trending blue. I think that we won't know this actually until the next set of elections. Sometimes we can have a kind of important off-year election response to the administration that's in the White House. I think that's what this is. The really important question will be, can these numerous women who've just been elected to public office, most of whom were novices, never run, never thought, can they be reelected? Right. And in many of them in marginal districts with very marginal votes. That, I think, that's the test through time we have to look at.
Okay, thank you so much for joining me. That was Dr. Deirdre Condit.
Coming up, a VCU professor sexually assaulted at a local massage envy tells VCU InSight why she's speaking out.
And we talk with outraged Short Pump Middle School parents over what some are calling a controversial viral video.
We've never been very good at sitting still. Maybe that's why we built our campus in the middle of a city. Why we put our classrooms on riverbanks, in Fortune 500 companies, even on stage. At Virginia Commonwealth University, learning happens everywhere. What matters most is how you make it real.
Imagine walking into a massage salon looking for relaxation, but finding someone face down with one hand around your throat while another covers your mouth. A VCU professor is breaking her silence after being sexually assaulted. VCU InSight's Alexis Allen has more.
Just 2 years ago, Dr. Danielle Dick came to this spa in Henrico County in the hopes of getting a 90-minute massage. However, her experience soon took a turn for the worse.
All of a sudden, it's not an ordinary Sunday anymore.
Danielle runs a research center focused on behavioral and emotional health at VCU. And she says that as a professor, she never thought she would be a victim of sexual assault.
It's easy to get tricked into this idea that you're safe, that it doesn't apply to you, it applies to young college co-eds.
While Danielle shares her experience, the National Violence Resource Center says 63% of sexual assaults are not reported to police. Danielle says that she hopes her story helps other women to come forward.
Jointly, when we all take a stand and connect all of these dots of this pattern of assaults that are happening to say, this isn't okay.
The masseuse Deshaun Bullard was convicted of sexual battery and forcible sexual object penetration. He is currently serving 5 years in prison, according to Henrico court records. We reached out to Massage Envy. In an emailed statement, the company said that they are under new management, while also saying, quote, Massage Envy leads the industry with stringent policies for its franchises, including a zero-tolerance policy on inappropriate conduct. If a therapist engages in a zero-tolerance offense, they are terminated and restricted from employment at any Massage Envy franchise location. Alexis Allen, VCU InSight.
Since her incident, Dr. Danielle Dick has filed a civil suit against Massage Envy. She also started a petition on change.org in the hopes that Massage Envy will help individuals that have been sexually assaulted at their stories.
Disappointment, anger, and frustration. That's what some Short Pump parents are saying they feel after seeing a shocking and racist viral video involving middle school football players ranging from ages 11 to 13. Published reports say 3 players involved in the video have been suspended. VCU InSight reporter Siona Hughley has more on the bullying incident.
It was a sexual assault. I mean, who does that?
That was Sarah McDonald Rollins, a parent to 2 Short Pump middle schoolers, with her response to a now viral racist video. This is the video that shows white football players using the N-word while simulating sex acts on a black teammate. Rollins, along with several other black and white short pump parents, attended the community meeting held in the school's auditorium. Some parents wanted to know why it took so long for the school to make parents aware of the now viral racist video.
It takes you 12 days to address a crime that occurred on campus.
April Sullivan, a parent of a student at Short Pump, let school officials know that she isn't happy with the racist behavior shown by the middle school-aged boys.
My child saw a video of her fellow classmates being humiliated, degraded by other students who simulated a rape act.
Where does Short Pump Middle School go from here?
I would like to see policy revised or new policy created to specifically address the issues of racism and bullying.
Sherry Davids, a mother to one of the players on the football team, says the edited video doesn't show the truth.
You do not see what really happened.
One mom at the meeting is concerned that school officials have been trying to cover up the racially charged incident instead of dealing with the issue of racism.
A new narrative to be spread that this assault was done by children of all races and therefore cannot be a racial event. That is false.
For VCU InSight, I'm Sayoni Hughley.
According to Henrico County Public Schools' official website, Henrico County Public Schools is creating a new Office of Equity and Diversity to address any future incidents.
Last month, more than 80 children, including a 5-year-old and an infant, were rescued from a human trafficking sting in Denver. According to the FBI, more than 120 people have been arrested in connection. Now, a family of missionaries is traveling the nation to bring awareness to effects of human trafficking, even if it means risking their lives. VCU InSight Caitlin Moody catch up with the family on their recent stop in Virginia.
According to nationaltraffickinghotline.org, there have been more than 900 sex trafficking cases in the state of Virginia since 2007, with more than 80 cases this year alone.
It has become now the second most profitable criminal activity in America. It just surpassed the sale of illegal firearms.
After learning more about the rising issue, Sean Levesque and his family of 5 sold everything they had to travel the nation. For the next 2 years, they plan on speaking to audiences in the cities with the highest number of cases of human trafficking. Sean says the risk of danger is high and keeps their exact location quiet to avoid retaliation from criminals. With their safety always on the line, Sean says traveling in a camper is not ideal, but it is what God has led him and his family to do.
Absolutely. There's no way I would have done anything like this on my own. I don't even like to camp. So the fact that we're living in a camper for 2 years is a testament to the fact that this is not of me. It is totally of him.
Caden, the youngest Levesque, is the one who came up with their mission's name, Love to Hope, and says it was another blessing from God.
I was going to name a ministry, I would name it Love to Hope. And God just gave that word in my head, so.
For VCU InSight, I'm Caitlin Moody.
If you want to know more about how you can help, visit polarisproject.org or follow the Levesque mission at lovetohope.com. If you see any suspicious activity, please call the National Human Trafficking Hotline at 1-888-373-7888.
$1 billion. That's how much Facebook is investing in eastern Henrico County. But the billion-dollar question is, what's the economic impact on the area? Jasmine Stith gives a closer look at the story.
According to a commercial real estate international company, Virginia attracted this social media giant by cutting the county's tax rate by nearly 90%. Virginia Commonwealth University's economics professor, Edward Milner, explains how the county probably sealed the deal with Facebook.
The taxes is a big deal. So they probably contacted several localities and engaged in a little bit of a, not necessarily an auction, but they considered various proposals, and the extent to which the locality could reduce their taxes would certainly be an important consideration when they make their choice.
Facebook will save millions in property taxes, but does that mean more jobs for Virginians? VCU business professor Paolo Kataski says he would imagine for Facebook to source locally, just like other major companies.
I know that Amazon did just that. I know that Altria did just that. Any company who moved to the Richmond area, they started by looking locally.
The new Facebook data center is 970,000 square feet, which is about 17 football fields like this one. With only 100 workers, who else will be working at this huge facility? Artificial intelligence? The question is up for grabs. Milner says the one side benefit of Facebook coming to Virginia is that it may attract the subsidiaries and their suppliers, which could bring more foot traffic to the local businesses and create more jobs. For VCU InSight, I'm Jasmine Stith.
According to VirginiaBusiness.com, Virginia is also trying to throw out the red carpet for a second Amazon headquarters in the Richmond area. Just like Facebook, Amazon could be attracted by the economic incentives and the tax breaks.
Coming up, VCU women's volleyball winning streak continues. We'll hear from the players and the coach about how they're staying on top.
And see how a Petersburg nonprofit is combining veggies and education to fill local food pantries.
Premature birth is the #1 killer of babies, according to the March of Dimes. Sadly, Virginia's premature birth rate increased 0.5% from last year. And did you know, Black women have the highest percentage of preterm birth rate amongst all women? Here's a closer look on a woman that experienced preterm birth.
I was scared. I wasn't expecting her to come there early.
20-year-old Rashika Walker says she felt sick one day during her pregnancy and went to the hospital, not knowing she would have her baby a month and a week before her due date.
They took my blood pressure and they told me my blood pressure was 151/100.
The March of Dimes' goal is to reduce preterm births to no more than 8.1% by the year 2020.
In the day and age we live in, social media exposure is critical to a high school basketball player's recruitment. And over the past few years, a VCU student has become a very important name in the college recruiting realm. VCU InSight's Malik Bowden has more.
At first glance, Andrew Canavos, a senior at VCU, looks like your average college student. However, this VCU Ram is a celebrity in the high school basketball world.
Let's say like a week, I would probably get like 20 DMs from maybe a random kid, any kid. Yeah, any kid from, you could say, from Virginia to Maryland to North Carolina to even like South Carolina.
Andrew is a videographer for ballerslife.com. He travels the country filming high school basketball players and creates highlight tapes that are seen by thousands of fans and college coaches.
That's one thing I really like doing, actually. I like helping kids out a lot, whether it's a local kid in my area or at my high school, from a kid from just another AAU team that I know well. So I always like try to help kids out.
Over the years, Andrew has built a credible name for himself and has been sought out by college coaches for his honest and unbiased evaluation of players.
Andrew has such a collection of, film, whether it be, at a certain tournament for AAU, whether it be at a showcase classic for high school, or it's just a plain regular district or conference or regional playoff game.
Andrew's long-term goal is to be in charge of social media at a major college athletics program. He's also interested in becoming a video coordinator for a men's Division I basketball team. He's recently done work for the VCU men's basketball team and has also received offers to do work for the football team at Louisville and the basketball team at Rutgers University. Andrew plans on graduating in the spring, and it seems as if he has plenty of options ahead of him. From VCU InSight, I'm Malik Bowden.
If you're interested in seeing some of Andrew's work, you can visit ballislife.com.
Undefeated in the Atlantic 10 Conference, undefeated at home, and currently on a 25-game winning streak, there's your VCU Rams women volleyball team. According to VCU Athletics, Twitter handle women's volleyball claims an A10 regular season title and #1 seed in the A10 volleyball championship. The volleyball ladies are nationally ranked and have one of the longest streaks in the nation. According to the team's middle blocker, Victoria Baldwin, moving into Atlantic 10 Conference tournaments. First round, the team's head coach, Jody Rogers, says the girls focus and give every match their best. According to the middle blocker, Victoria Baldwin, the team trusts one another and they're never walking into a game alone.
I don't
ever think that a coach goes into a season saying, oh, we're going to be undefeated, because that's not realistic. However, I did say that we have a lot of promise, and you know, the girls were excited, and that carried over from this past spring, and then into the fall.
According to VCU's athletic page, the women's 11th league wins are tied since joining the Atlantic 10 in 2012.
This week is National Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week, according to the nationalhomeless.org. And one local nonprofit organization plans on stepping up and feeding the city of Petersburg. Caitlin Moody has more on the organization's plans.
Think, Then Choose Wisely, a nonprofit organization, was started in 2012 by founder Mike Jackson, according to thinkthenchoosewisely.org. Jackson says it was his way of giving back to the community in Petersburg and helping young students from Jeb Stuart Elementary School to learn with action. According to Mr. Jackson, the organization recently signed a contract with Feed More to provide the local food pantries with the vegetables from his garden to feed the needy in the city of Petersburg. Principal from Jeb Stuart Elementary School, Tracy Sith Johnson, says having the food garden close to the school is a great hands-on experience for its students.
This is a high poverty area, and our students are so accustomed to processed foods, fast foods, and things of that nature. They have never even experienced a garden.
Mr. Jackson says having the students help and learn from the garden is one of his favorite things about his project.
I see amazement in the children's eyes. They just can't believe the seed that they put in the ground, and now they set up right before their very eyes. And I look at them and listen to the oohs and ahs. They can't believe that they've done that.
Jackson says seeing his project grow right in front of his eyes is what keeps him going, and hopes that the garden can reach its full potential and feed half the city of Petersburg with the continued help of the elementary students. For VCU InSight, I'm Caitlin Moody.
For more information about how you can help the garden grow or donate to their cause, visit thinkthenchoosewisely.org.
And that does it for this edition of VCU InSight.
You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook under VCU InSight. Contact us with any stories you'd like to see on our show.
And if you missed our show and would like to watch it again, you can find us on YouTube at VCU InSight. Thanks for watching. I'm Jasmine Stiff.
And I'm Alexis Hughes. We'll see you next time.